Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and deceased. It is I, Emily Sophia, aka M Mighty Sophia, here to break down for you guys the latest episode of The Walking Dead. We are on season 6, episode 14, Twice as Far. So, spoiler alert before we dive into the mad thick of things, as I shall be bearing all in this review. And just so you guys know, just in case you missed the prior week's review that I did, or my recent reviews of Bates Motel and Better Call Saul, there are links in the description to all the playlists of my TV reviews. Check things out as you so desire. But anyways, so The Walking Dead tonight was quite an interesting and devastating affair. I mean, I knew that we were definitely due for at least a semi-major character death, since the last time we'd really lost a character was at the mid-season premiere, actually. So it's been a little while. I guess that it was about time that somebody's body hit the floor, and that is definitely what happened this week with Dr. Denise. And it sucks because she was honestly a pretty decently formed character, and that can't really be said of most of the Alexandrian crew, quite a few of whom have gotten gradually disposed of over time. But Dr. Denise stuck it out, and we got to know her a little bit through her struggles to become the resident physician of Alexandria, to her relationship with Tara and the fear that she's been grappling with. And so it's interesting how we get these kind of two parallel stories in which we have these weaker core characters that are trying to explore what they're capable of in this world. It's interesting because since the immediate threat level, even with the saviors lurking about and kind of encircling Alexandria, lately it's been kind of on the down low. I don't think that that's going to be the case for much longer, but there's not an immediate internal threat at Alexandria at the moment. And so characters like Eugene and Denise have to get outside of the four walls of Alexandria and kind of face and conquer their fears and deal with things where the dead are, I guess. So, I mean, there were some decisions made that were rash and that perhaps seemed short-sighted, but arguably both Eugene and Dr. Denise's intentions were pretty decent. I mean, like, we get it. I mean, we especially got it from Denise's final, very emotional speech, as if she knew that there was an arrow that was about to pierce her skull and come right out of her eyeball, as she was busy praising the merits of Rosita and Daryl. And then, what do you know? That was her exit cue, I guess. But I laugh, but it really did suck. It really did suck. It really did suck. Let's see if I can actually get my my verb tense is correct here. But yeah, it hit hard. I knew that it was going to happen because of just the way that the camera was kind of lingering on her face. And it was sort of this semi-close-up shot, and so I could tell that there was something that was being kept from the audience in that moment. And I was actually joking that as I watched, I was like, oh, what do you want to bet that some zombie is just going to come flying out of the corner? You know, one of those classic jump scare walkers that like to linger about and appear at inopportune times. But no, it was an arrow. And so, I mean, I applaud the writers of this episode for surprising me in a way. I knew that something very bad was going to happen, but yeah, so that definitely occurred. Certainly a memorable death in this season, at least I assume it's going to be memorable once all is said and done, but we've got 2 more episodes in which a lot of hell can transpire. So, meanwhile, we actually got to see a bit of a win for Eugene, who is quite the innovator when it comes to the well-being of himself and his companions. And what do you know? He latched on to Dwight's D just in the nick of time, and yeah, successfully sent the saviors heading for the hills thanks to his skillful moves, which according to Abraham now puts him at I don't know, it was like welcome to level 2 or something like that. After Eugene actually does make it out on the other side, having proven his skill to bite a man's dick just in time. I can sure appreciate that too. Yeah, and so earlier on in the episode, of course, there's a bit of a confrontation between Abraham and Eugene, as Eugene adamantly insists that Abraham has outlived his usefulness to him. So I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Are we about to lose one of these characters, much less to each other? And I mean, perhaps that would have been too dramatic of a conclusion to draw, but, you know, I watch stuff like Game of Thrones. I know that anything is possible, and the hammer can come down at any given moment, so I have learned to keep myself on my toes, no matter what we're dealing with or whom. But turns out the two of them are still in the clear for now, and when it seemed like Eugene, the captive of Dwight and the Saviors, was giving away Abraham's position with the intention of doing away with him, it was actually to, execute his little crotch plan, as it were. And it worked out. I mean, it gave Rosita and Daryl the advantage that they needed. They were able to very quickly acquire some weapons, slice some throats, and spray some bullets down. And once more, they have waylaid the Saviors, but clearly these guys are honing in on Alexandria, and they're ready to take everything they can get and give nothing back, to semi-quote the original Pirates of the Caribbean movie. But yeah, so really fascinating episode. The pacing was quite strange, actually. At the very beginning, we saw all these scenes of the sort of cyclical ritual nature of Alexandrian life, something that has come about from these months of peacetime, aside from the events of the past 2 episodes in which Rick and company took the war to the Saviors. Back on home turf, everybody's got kind of their way of life. Morgan has erected a brick prison, and Rick is confused about its existence, but there it is, and Morgan continues to practice his skills with his staff. Carol smoked quite a bit and disappeared as well, which is something that we are going to talk about very, very shortly here, because I have mighty strong feelings about that turn of events. Rosita was hooking up with Spencer, Deanna's son. And by the end of things, Abraham finally officially confesses his feelings to Sasha, and she accepts them. So other certain relational events are taking place. But yeah, so the episode moved slowly at times, but it wasn't without meaning or some kind of purpose. And it was interesting, I think, to put Denise with Rosita and Daryl, and she, very clearly expresses why she wanted to go out with them on this mission to acquire more drugs from this pharmacy, and it's a very dark journey for Denise, and it's one that's riddled with seemingly stupid decisions, but she's making them for both symbolic and literal reasons. I mean, really trying to put herself and her nerve and her resilience to the test, but then also trying to prove that she is worthy of love, that she could sacrifice herself for Tara, for example. She reveals that there is no way that she could have gone out and gone with Tara on their last mission because of her own fear. And so in confronting the zombie and trying to get the cooler and, of course, the Orange Crush soda, which made an appearance earlier on in this season 2. Yeah, all of this is part of, like, her doing the things that she needs to do to feel like, hey, I am a full-fledged survivor. I have the skills that I need. I can take these risks. I can come out on the other side. And I think trying to feel that sense of danger in her own life as well in order to strengthen her, give her a little more grit. And it doesn't exactly go all that far, but at least she got to prove something to herself before knocking on heaven's door, you know? Like, that's more than can be said of many. She accomplished a pretty big overarching goal in the grand scheme of things, and that spelled out the end for her, unfortunately. But yeah, so let's talk about the Carol situation too, because what the actual crap. I mean, we got like maybe 5 or 10 minutes with her towards the beginning of this episode, and we see that she's kind of in this relationship, reflecting on everything, and she's feeling very distant and detached, and is really considering the meaning of life and whether or not she can continue to kill the way that she has been. And in fact, I think it's interesting that there's never been a conversation between her and Morgan about this life that she's now pursuing, and perhaps she just simply internalized the things that he expressed and made apparent in his life and didn't necessarily feel the need to explain that directly to him, because she's sort of taken that in stride, and this is the next step for her, is to go away. But that freaking sucks, because she's freaking Carol and we need her for reasons, and I love her, and she's become one of the show's strongest characters. So for her to leave so abruptly and in the form of a written note, I mean, sure, that is a courtesy at the very least, but it's like, why? We have 2 episodes left. Inevitably shit's gonna hit the fan, so maybe she's gonna be just enough on the outside of things to figure out that something's wrong, and then come back and save the day Terminus style, just like last time. But then it's like, would they really kind of repeat that arc? But I mean, it would be different, because she's self-exiling now as opposed to coming out of her exile from the prison days. So it would be different, but I'm still very much distressed over her absence, and I feel like that came about way too quickly. I mean, even despite the previous episode's very intense focus on her, with everything else that transpired, it just seemed like such a strange time for her to exit. But it's really kind of, I think, just the pacing and gearing up towards the finale, and things are probably going to make sense by the end. So yeah, I mean, what did you guys think of this episode? It made me laugh, took my breath away a couple of times. I'm pretty impressed overall. Very, very entertaining, very unique focus on 2 of the weaker characters. Both kind of prove different things to themselves and one another, you know? One took an arrow through the eye, and one made another person's dick go bye-bye. Or, you know, at least sustain certain damages. But good on them. Good on Denise and Eugene for stepping up to bat, I guess. I mean, come whatever may and what did. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. I will, of course, be back with the next 2. You guys take care.